1 second. I will get to the intro. I'm just finishing filling out our bingo card here.
Intro's playing.
Intro's playing. And cool. Hi! Welcome to the Photo Op Podcast, the photo opinion podcast where we talk about all things photo and video. I'm your host, Ben Lucas.
And I'm Stuart Marlantis.
And this is Photo Op.
It is.
So, what was it that I was filling out here earlier this year? We decided to do a New Year's resolution.
Yes, we did.
One of my New Year's resolutions was pet 50 dogs.
Where you at?
I am at 34.
All right. And as of the recording of this, it's less than halfway through the year.
Yes.
So you're ahead of schedule.
I did a charity event, Pause for a Cause, and I got to pet so many dogs this weekend.
All right. So you cheated.
I cheated. Yeah, absolutely.
There are worse things to cheat at than petting dogs.
Yeah, I got to pet like 18 dogs this weekend. Not every dog wants to be pet, which is totally fair. Also, it was pouring down rain. Oh. So there was that.
Well,
but no, so just a little update on our bingo card there. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We got some Comic-Cons. We got some updating of website images. I finally got to do a creative shoot for myself rather than some paid work.
That's
that was
unusual.
Super fun. I know, isn't it? Isn't it? No, I
working for your own reward.
Yeah.
What?
So I needed to replace a piece of camera equipment, and when I went to the website to replace the gear, I saw that they had 2 new flash units out. I use Buff, by the way. Hashtag not sponsored. And so when I went to go replace the part, I saw they had 2 new flash units. Well, one of their new flash units, they have colored gels that have magnets on them, and they just pop onto the light,
Sweet.
which is pretty cool because right now, if I want to use gels, I either need to use my barn doors or I need to jimmy rig and tape and clamp, and it turns into like this weird looking mess. And these are super cool because you can pop them on and then you can throw like a softbox or a beauty dish on it.
Oh, on the other. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it fits inside the ring.
Yeah.
So it still colors the entirety of that softbox or beauty dish. And so I did a little bit of playing with gelling my modifiers.
Cool.
And some of those shots turned out really cool.
But it looks like you're working so hard when you do the jerry-rigged, clamped tape thing. It's like, this is real photography.
It's true.
It's not as slick, though.
It's not as slick. But I don't know. I'm also one of those people that, like, as soon as you do that, now the gel's a little crumpled and it makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
I like keeping all of my, like, I understand that, like, you use it and then that stuff will need to be replaced.
It's a consumable.
It is technically a consumable, but I don't know. This is pretty cool that I can have a thing that's reusable. I don't like the colors that they come in, so I'm actually having a friend of mine who does like silicone casting. He's going to be doing some experimenting in the next couple of weeks here with me to essentially recreate the one you can buy, but in colors that they don't sell.
Huh? They're like a product opportunity there. Sounds
possibly,
like it.
Possibly.
Sounds like it.
These are currently just for personal use, not selling them. Don't get on me. Honestly, if this was a big enough show that they're like, oh, are you doing that? Then I'd be flattered.
Well, what I want to know is how you put a gel around this.
Oh, man. And so he is holding a 360 camera there. Why would you gel that? Underwater filter? Don't they already make underwater filters for that?
Sure, but you can do it digitally well enough now that you wouldn't bother.
There's no reason to.
Yeah.
So, leading into our episode for today, we just figured, a little bit of chat, a little bit of catching up. It's been a hot minute. But today we have some tips for 360 cameras. So, I recently just bought a 360 camera because on your advice, you did a trip where you had one and it turned out excellent. And I'm about to leave on a trip.
Yeah.
And I want to know all the hot tips.
Yeah. So
that's what we're talking about
picked
today.
up a 360 camera before my wife and I went on our honeymoon late last year to Japan. And there was frankly just a good deal at Costco, and I was like, cool, convinced. Like,
and that deal was still on when you got back.
Let's try this again. And then I got back and I was like, that was really fun. It's still happening.
This would be the third 360 camera that I've owned. The first one was only 2 megapixels.
I would consider them good now.
The first one was a toy. The first one was interesting, but ultimately useless. The second one was good, except for the fact that it stopped working. So not good. Actually, I mean, the photos looked good, but I can't get any of the photos off the camera, which is a little problematic.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be working on that.
You are supposed to be working on that.
It's a reminder,
just a
subtle
little
reminder.
bit of peer pressure to get that hard drive off your desk. Oh snap! Not my intention, but hey, I'll use it to my benefit.
So I think I consider 360 cameras at the whatever the X3's resolution is, which is the Insta360 F3, which is the new one's 8K. Yeah, the new one.
Oh, the X4 is
There's
8K?
a new one. We both have an X3.
I literally just bought this. And you're telling me there's a new. Actually, I bought it at Costco, so that's why that makes sense.
Yeah,
Costco has the last gen.
Mm-hmm. Now
it's still like 72 megapixels. It's still ginormous.
I think it's the same sensor. I think it's the same sensor, and they're just doing a little bit more processing. And my suspicion, I haven't looked at a lot of the reviews yet, and I don't think I really intend to, but my suspicion is optically, it's probably almost the exact same.
It might be.
I suspect the 8K is not actually really a significant upgrade. Maybe it is. I kind of suspect that it isn't. But anyway, the X3 and I think some other 360 cameras are in the 5.7K range for the video, which is where I consider it usable and pretty good. Anything less than that, I would probably avoid. So, hey, that's what we got.
That is what we got. So, you have a lot more experience doing 360 than I do. So, what are some good tips here?
So, the first one is one that you don't have, but I'd recommend you probably pick up for your trip, which is a foldable tripod foot, I suppose.
I think I do have a foldable tripod foot.
And if you don't have one and you don't want to buy one, I'll lend you.
Yeah, okay, cool. I was going to say, that sounds like a thing I own.
I thought you had one, but in case you don't, I will lend you mine.
Cool.
But the reason why I'm preempting with this over any other tip is it is by far the functionality that I used the most on the entire trip was being able to unfold the tripod legs. It's just the legs. It's basically just like a wide tripod foot that you screw into the bottom of the selfie stick, and then you can just open it. You can just close it and use it as a handle, but you can open it and set it down. And that was so handy throughout the entire trip, was to be able to set it down. You've got two relatively scratch prone lenses on the end of this thing that you want to be careful about, and the fact that you can just set it down and know that it's okay,
because otherwise you have to balance it and be like, don't bump the table.
Exactly, or like lay it down and be like, I hope it doesn't scratch, right? Yeah.
Nope, not gonna do
So
that.
the tripod is great for that. It's great for just being able to set it down, and also it's great for if you want to take a video or photo that's you're the camera's in front of you, you're not moving with it necessarily, you're trying to do a like a selfie, so to speak, with you and your travel partner or partners. It's great to be able to just set it down and have that be ready to go.
Otherwise you've got a big ass thumb in your photo when you click the button.
So that's the first thing, is I would say foldable tripod, absolutely worth it. I feel like it's so worth it they should come with these. But even though they don't, they're like $15 on Amazon or something. Like, they're not that expensive.
It came with a selfie stick, and I'm kind of disappointed that you know how like your DJI handle has that split tripod. I'm really disappointed. I thought this one would do that.
Yeah, it really should, but it doesn't.
It should.
Yeah.
All right. What are some other what other things that you need here?
So the second thing to go along with that, which thankfully it does come with this for the most part, is a case or a cover that goes on the camera with the selfie stick or tripod attached. Reason why this is good is related to the reason why you'd want the tripod, so you can set it somewhere and not worry they're going to destroy the lenses.
So the one that we got from Costco has the this doesn't come standard.
No,
this
it
is
doesn't.
Like an extra, but it's just, it doesn't cover the whole thing. So like the screen is still exposed. Also,
but it covers lenses.
Not to crap on them, but the lens cover that it gave you and the pouch that they gave you aren't compatible. You can't use them both at the same time because it doesn't fit.
It's way too tight.
So my wife found just like a little zipper pouch at the dollar store that was the right size, and I'm going to be using that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would recommend the one that you can keep, because once you put the selfie stick on it, it's going to be too fiddly and too annoying to put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. And if you can just, especially if you can toss it in your bag, if you're moving, you're not using it, and you want to just stick it in your bag and be able to pull it out and use it whenever you want, it's so much easier to just unzip, or remove whatever case you have on it and be ready to go.
I mean, that's a decent size, but it definitely fits inside
Would
a
fit in a
backpack.
backpack, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, we about a foot long or so?
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the two, I think, gear things right away. And that served us really well for the entire trip. Like, we left it on the stick with the tripod on it at all times.
Question. When I'm shooting, I've actually never tried shooting video before because I have no idea how to edit 360 video. I've pretty much only shot photos. Obviously, if you've been listening to this, I'm the photo guy. He's the video guy. But I'm curious, did you shoot mostly photos or mostly video?
Mostly video. But I did shoot a few photos. So as you would expect from me, I shot mostly video. It was other cameras for photos for the most part, this camera for video for the most part. And so I left it on a preset for that I made ahead of the trip.
How many
ready
cameras
to
did
go.
you bring with you on trip? Actually, don't
Just a
answer that.
couple.
Next episode, we'll go over travel tips.
Just a couple. I almost
and
brought
what
more.
you should bring with you. No, we'll
Almost
stick
brought
to
more.
360
Yeah.
for this week.
So mostly shot video on it. And the intention was less to be artistic with it and more as documentation.
Okay.
More of like a travel or trip video for like us personally than something that was meant to be more artistic. I still think that the quality is not good enough to pull off what I would want to do, like from an artistic sense. I would still use a more traditional camera for video in that form.
Sure.
But as a travel camera to re-experience that trip in the future, I think they're great for that.
So I looked at the specs on this one. You're absolutely right. It's the new X4 that has 8K.
Yeah. I don't think it resolves 8K.
But this one still has 5.7K at 30 frames per second or 4K at 60 frames per second. So you can get, that's not super slow-mo, but you can get a little bit.
Yeah. So for that, I would recommend, I ran it on 5.7K at 30 frames per second for the vast majority of the shooting that I did. I wanted the resolution more than I wanted the frame rate. And so I would recommend setting up a preset so you can turn it on and be ready to go in the highest resolution and the highest bit rate as your like default.
I'm curious, when you edit 360 videos, do you publish them as 360 videos? Because I've always just thought of like, I'm going to edit this into a normal 1080.
Which is what I do generally. So I keep the 360 version for future reference.
Of course.
I mean, the cool thing about reframing them is you can just keep the non-reframed video. And if you're like, oh yeah, what was that over there? Or what was behind us? Or what was to the side? Whatever. You can just do that, which is great. But yeah, I do see these as an opportunity to shoot all angles at once to make a standard rectangular form out of and not a 360 degree form. I guess you could. That would be, in my opinion, very hard to pull off in a way that isn't kind of hokey and weird. It's interesting.
I've seen a few music videos pull it off, but those are also highly crafted.
It's interesting to make it look reasonable if you're like carrying it or if it's mounted to you in some way. Like, it always looks weird to me. Like, it's from a personal perspective, it works fine because you're going to forget all that and be in the moment and be like, oh yeah, we saw that thing. Or, oh yeah, look at over there. Makes sense. But like, if you're showing it off or publishing it online publicly, it feels weird to me to do that, especially since you can make very strange angles. You can make like your head look really warped and weird, or your hand look huge. You can do all that with the 360 stuff, which to me is kind of strange. And I'd rather just control what the view part is at all times. Thankfully, the software for that is really good now. So it's Insta360 software that comes with the cameras is great. It is way more performant than I expected it. I expected it to chug and have more issues. It's been super smooth. Their app is actually pretty good. And you can set all sorts of keyframes and positions, and it can do kind of machine learning tracking on objects. You can say like, hey, keep the view tracked on that object as you move around, which works pretty well in my experience. And the stabilization is excellent. So I never had issues with that, except for once or twice, which I'll get into in a minute. But that's my recommendation is for video. The stills are okay. They say 72 megapixels. It's really two 36 megapixel images stick together.
makes sense.
And it's fine. Like, weirdly, even though 5.7K is much less resolution, it looks better to me for some reason. There's something about it that,
so you say it's fine,
Yeah.
but my last camera was 14 megapixels, and now I have 72. So for me, I'm like,
yeah. So it's a lot better. It's a lot better. I would say it's fine because there's a lot of distortion from the lenses.
Oh, sure.
And if you'll recognize this as more of a stills guy, but when you crop it in to make an actual normal image out of it, you're gonna be like, yeah, the quality just isn't there. The glass just isn't good enough.
No,
right?
the quality on my old camera, like I said, my first one was a toy, completely unusable.
Yeah.
And the second one was good for like digital only.
Yeah.
Like it looked great when I posted it online, but like I couldn't make a
still
print out of
think
it.
it's kind of digital only. That's why I'm suspicious of the 8K claims of the new one. Like, if it looks like the same sensor because you're claiming it's still 72 megapixels, I don't believe that it's going to resolve that. But
just a firmware update allows more of the sensor
more
for
processing
video
or whatever. Yeah, but I just kind of don't believe those lenses are for how tiny they are and for the expansive field of view they have to deal with. They're pretty good. I mean, this is like a $400 or $300 something camera.
Okay,
right?
so I'm gonna. I know your life is busy, but I'm gonna give you a challenge. Okay, I want you to edit some of your video. It can be like 30 seconds worth.
Sure.
I just want you to stitch together an edit that we can look at and kind of like analyze.
Sure.
Because I'm imagining I'm mostly going to shoot photos and not videos.
Cool.
And I will attempt to shoot at least one or two videos.
Photo
and see
versus
if we
video.
But let's actually take a look and see like for the quality that you're looking for in your medium, because you already shot a bunch of video.
Oh yeah.
And
hours and hours and hours and hours.
And the thing is, like, with my old camera, this was in my bag all the time. I literally never left home without it. And 90% of the time, I would forget it existed to take it out and actually, like, shoot it. I had to be very intentional about it. So
I pretty much had this within 10 seconds of use during the trip at all times.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try and do better about this. We'll definitely do a torture test on that.
Yeah, let's do a post. We both did our trips. Let's do a post like travel. Here's what came out of our 360 cameras.
I want to see a breakdown and see not necessarily like is one of ours better or something, but
no,
let's
just
actually
like here's
look,
what you'd expect.
Let's actually look at like what can you expect and like hey, what situations did it hold up really well and look really good, and which situations did it like fall apart and just like it didn't turn out
absolutely
at all.
And I pushed the limits on ours. I actually took it into pure dark night conditions, like with no street lights even. So you'll see like torture test of the absolute worst you can expect basically, and I think some of the better stuff that you can expect.
Okay, so I'm adding this to our list. 360 camera showdown. It's not really a showdown because we're both using the exact same camera, but that's also cool too because we're using the exact same camera.
Absolutely.
So we could have gotten the exact same thing, or they could be wildly different, because just because you have a good camera doesn't mean it's good.
Nope. Yeah. So I would say make some presets ahead of time so that it's easy to grab to help
what
you.
What presets do I need?
You can make custom presets. So to help you make it easier to remember to use, to have on
Besides
hand.
frame rate, what presets are there?
Well, not a tremendous amount, but you can control the bit rate in these. You can control a decent amount of stuff. So basically, I would give it, as you would expect for video, the highest bit rate. And then the highest resolution that supports that bit rate. So in this case, it's going to be 5.7K 30. I would, for stills, obviously do the largest file size and resolution you can get away with.
Naturally.
Which is going to be like digital negatives, I think, is what this camera puts out.
I can always delete a photo later. I can't retake that photo.
Yeah, absolutely. So 72 megapixel, I think the equivalent pseudo raw on this camera is digital negative. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that, but whichever one is the closest to raw.
I'm quoting you on it. It's happening right now.
Whichever one is the closest to raw. And then maybe have a high frame rate option. So maybe 4K 60 or something if you expect you're going to want to slow down clips at any point. Probably not in my experience, but you might.
I mean, I'll give it a try.
You might.
Oh, this is interesting. So this currently says it has 388 shots left, which is going to be a little problematic. I think I need to put a new memory card in there.
it might not even have a card in it right now.
Oh, it has the card that came with.
Which was like 32 gigs or something tiny.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, get something bigger.
So that's gonna be your next tip. Ditch that memory card immediately.
Yes. If it comes with a memory card, it's probably a 32 gig. It's hilariously small. Go and buy something good.
308. I'm gonna shoot that on day one, and then we're gonna have another 3 weeks left of our trip.
I would say get at least a 256. I think you can get 256 gig micro SD cards in the appropriate speed for that in like the $30 range now. I mean, it's so cheap. Get a couple of them. I don't know if you need to go 512. Sure, if you're not going to change the card out very frequently, but 256 gigs is a lot even for that resolution, believe it or not. That's still hours of video. So yeah, get some memory cards. I think I hinted at this earlier. Situations where this camera didn't hold up for me. Low light. Now, I'm going to give a caveat of like, don't be as afraid of this as you expect. This performed better than I expected. However, you definitely get a lot of noise. Like,
for sure.
It gets noisy. And I pushed it to the point where we walked up a shrine. Well, if you have ever been to Japan or been to Kyoto, you probably know Fushimi Inari, which is the Fox Shrine. But you basically walk up a mountain to the top of the mountain, you overlook the city, and then you walk back down. We did this at sunset, which was cool because we got up to this shrine and it was this really neat moment where the sun was setting and we were overlooking the city from the top of this mountain, which was really cool. Or large hill, probably not a mountain for us Washingtonians. But really cool experience. The problem with that is the sun went down and it's not like this mountain, it's a shrine. It's not like it has like tons of lights and like, electricity everywhere. There are some lamps and some very quaint like candles and oil lit stuff, but very dark once the sun goes down. So coming down the mountain, it became pitch dark very quickly.
Is there a way to set manual exposure? Because what if I wanted it to be dark because I was looking at like stars or moon or like the shrine being lit up and I want everything else to be dark. I don't want it to try and lift everything else. And now that shrine that's lit up is like overblown.
Yeah. So it certainly depends on what you're trying to do. It's certainly more limited camera from that perspective, but there are more controls than you would expect in it. As with all these things, read the manual. What are you trying to do with it?
I have not done that.
Or play with it, right?
Yeah.
Play with it would work too. It's a relatively simple camera, all things considered. But that is basically what I was trying to do with video is let's stick the frame rate, let's stick the bit rate as much as possible. Let's make as many manual decisions to extract as much as I can out of this bad situation. And it did pretty well. The stabilization falls apart when it gets dark, not entirely, but it starts to get really blurry and kind of wavy, kind of like you're looking at it through like a warped piece of glass. But it did okay. Like the fact that we could walk through a pitch dark area and make out reasonable amount of information to me was pretty good for something that is so small with such tiny sensors on it that is stabilizing purely electronically.
So, last question for me here, at least. Are there any other tips that you have for anyone who owns one, or a reason why someone might want to buy one?
So, one thing that I thought was interesting on this trip that was a reason to take this when you might not take any other camera is security doesn't care at all. They cared about selfie sticks with cell phones. They didn't care about this. Even with a stick on it. Yeah, for real. And now you might say, well, you were in Japan and they're going to be nice because you're foreigners and, not jump on you. I saw security tell people no selfie sticks. You can't use that, put that away. And this we'd walk through. I'd feign some amount of ignorance. Nobody cared. Because we weren't being jerks with it. Like we weren't,
and it's in its collapsed version. It's not 10 feet long.
Yeah, in its collapsed version. Even in its collapsed version, which is like it's like a foot long, that because it gets your hand away from the camera a little bit, way more usable than you would expect. You can hold it at that very short length and get a tremendous amount of usable footage out of it. Whereas if you extend it, certainly you can get more, but you're going to call more attention to yourself. Where I don't know,
you're using it like a selfie stick.
And like security guards are trained more to look for that. Like they're going to recognize a phone because it's big, it's wide, it's perpendicular on the end of the stick. This almost looks like an extension of the stick. It's so small, and they care about that so little. You're not being a problem with this compared to like a heavy phone at the end of a selfie stick, especially some really cheap ones that like wobble all over the place.
For sure.
So that was like something that I didn't expect, but ended up being sort of a pro tip. Is I was like, well, if I can't take my DSLR, I can take this. And nobody cares.
Nice.
Because that was another thing too. There were places that said no professional cameras, which I was like, that's discrimination. but also,
if you're a professional, every camera is a professional camera.
Yeah, exactly. I was coming from that perspective, but from a layperson's perspective, it's like, okay, well, if you're like in a museum and you're trying to like, bootleg a print of like you could do that much more easily with a professional camera. So I get it. You're not going to do that with this one, but nobody cared about this camera basically ever. I took it everywhere, and as usual with the stuff, don't be a jerk, and likely you'll be fine and nobody's going to hassle you. But even if you push the limits a little bit, this is much easier to ignore than even a cell phone in many cases. So
nice.
Also, not encouraging this necessarily, but there are places where they might say no filming or no photos or whatever, right? When this screen is off, you can't tell that this is recording. It's very easy to tell if you're recording
Bad Stewart.
with a phone.
Bad Stewart.
But this is impossible to tell. So just saying, if you theoretically wanted to record or capture something that you're not supposed to.
Boo, Bad Stewart. We're not advocating for that.
No, I didn't do that, just to be very clear. But what I'm saying is,
sure.
No, I don't think so. Actually, I'm thinking of like where are the places we weren't allowed to. There were temples and stuff where they're like, hey, in this inner area, don't. And I didn't, because I was like, I'm not gonna like be that guy. I'm not gonna like. This is like very sacred to you. I'm not gonna.
That's
mess
like
with
when
that.
we were talking about drone photography. Basically, the whole time we talked about that was just don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Yeah. You that guy ruins it for everyone.
So very, very, to be very clear, I'm not advocating for that. All I'm saying is it's so unobtrusive.
All I'm saying is you can if you wanted to.
It is to that level of unobtrusive that you could get away with that. Am I advocating for that? No. Did I do that personally? No, I didn't. Because from my perspective, if you're going to somebody's country, if you're going and immersing yourself in their culture, you should do your best to, I wouldn't say align with that, but respect that as much as you can, right?
Absolutely.
You're a stranger in their land, and you're there to see their stuff. And why would you mess with that, right? Like, you're the one intruding. So be respectful at the very least.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I would say that's my whole thing is be respectful, be nice, use it appropriately, and generally people are going to look the other way because it's so unobtrusive. Yeah.
One of the other things that's nice about 360 is even though technically there's a horizon, you don't really need to get like a straight horizon line, right? You can pretty much have it any orientation and be able to fix it.
Yeah.
On my old camera, I had a little bit of issues trying to get like a horizontal tilt. If instead of holding it straight up and down, if I was cockeyed just a little bit like that, I would have some issues trying to like
This has been very good in my experience.
Yeah?
The horizon has been the only time that it's been off a little bit, and it's very temporary, is when the light level is low enough that it's struggling to like figure out where the horizon is. But it's got to have like gyroscopes in it. It's got to have like it must be doing a ton of multi-sensor processing because it does a great job.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to give this a try. Thanks for giving us all our tips. All the tips came from you today because I do not have that much experience using one of these.
They are great. And even outside of travel, like this is an amazing like B cam, behind the scenes cam. Could set this up.
We actually,
capture all sorts of stuff.
way back before we started the podcast, you helped me do a 360 tips video just for my YouTube channel. We'll go ahead and link that down in the description.
If it's still relevant, I don't know.
I think we talked mostly about like placement and lighting and that kind of. I don't know.
You can worry a lot less about that stuff now, but might be helpful.
It's everything. My last little anecdote is when we were in India, we had a guide where I pull out a camera and he would try to like hide behind a pillar, and I just let him know of like, no, it's a 360 camera. You're in the photo no matter where you go. So just like
Good
relax. just and he was just like, what are you? And he was trying to like get out of my photo, but he was like being all weird as he was trying to get out of the photo. So I transferred one to my phone and showed it to him. I'm like, no, it gets everything. So just like relax. And then as soon as I showed him that, every time I went to take a photo, he went and just started cheesing.
Nice. Yeah. No, it's it was so much of a better travel companion than I would have expected. Very well received. Like nobody had problems with it. Nobody felt weird with it that we could ever see. I mean, I even bumped into some Japanese people that are like, "Oh, those are really cool. Like I just got one, or I'm looking at those," and like people were really into it. And just like be friendly, be nice as usual with all that normal travel stuff. And I didn't have any problems. And got some, at the very least, got some great memories out of it. Is it art? You can probably make the argument that it isn't, but is it?
I've made art out of it.
but is it an amazing thing that I can look back and be like, what was that? On that street that we were walking through, and I can go there and I can point my view at it and see it and export a video out of it and send it to somebody. So like that to me is incredibly
powerful. You got your very
powerful.
own Google Maps in your pocket.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and you can do all sorts of fun like little planet stuff and all those fun like effects. So
awesome.
Yeah, enjoy. It's a very fun camera.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so those are kind of all the tips that we have for the 360. We're going to revisit this when I get back from my trip, and we're going to take a look at kind of what we were able to come up with, what it was able to do well, what it failed at, and we'll kind of do a part 2 follow up to that. Yeah. But next week, since we're kind of on that track, we're going to talk about tips for travel photos. So kind of what to pack and how you can get the most out of your traveling photography experience. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
See you next time.
If you have questions or ideas for future episodes, you can email us at hello@photo-op.show.
Watch us on Ben's YouTube channel at NomCreative.
As in Om Nom Nom.
Share this with a friend, and you can listen to Photo Op anywhere podcasts are sold.
Or download it. 'Cause it's free.